Brands can be themselves, but they're choosing not to. They're choosing to be something different. If you're just talking about your product, what are you hiding? Do you work in a Sheen factory? What's going on? They grew up in a world where they're like, well, you can be yourself. So why aren't you? Why are you trying to be someone else? 1000% from what we've seen of Gen Z, they will leave your app as quickly as they join. My advice would be,
welcome to Experimental, the podcast that cuts through the noise to bring you actionable insights in B2C growth, marketing, and data science. I'm your host, Sundar, former head of brand data science at Uber and the mind behind the Experimental newsletter. Join me as I talk with industry leaders who have driven growth at companies like Uber, Spotify, and Netflix. We'll uncover the experiments, failures, and breakthroughs that lead to real results. Now, let's get experimental. Hey, Claudia, thanks for joining me today. It's great to have you.
yeah, happy to be here.
Yes. Before we jump in, I just wanted to congratulate you and the team on an exciting milestone. I know it's been a few months, but you raised a Series A from really great investors, Goodwater, FJ Labs, and I think it's extremely exciting because you're a consumer company and you're a consumer company in Europe, which is doubly hard today. So just first off, congratulations to you and everything you've done in the team so far.
Yeah, thank you. We're really proud and super excited about what this means for the business and what this brings for our next phase.
Yeah. And I think we can jump right into one of the biggest reasons of your success is your ability to build product and build marketing to Generation Z. And it might just be the fact that, most of my network is slightly older, but I don't have a lot of Gen Z experts like you. So I am excited to just go into all things Gen Z. So let's just start off at a high level. What are maybe some of the misconceptions that people have or stereotypes about Gen Z that people have that are true and not true?
Yeah, so it's definitely a really fun kind of age group and demographic to be targeting towards because they are fun and they like fun apps. They kind of grew up with the internet in a way that, as millennials, we kind of developed with the internet. They already had it 100% there, even though the internet was still figuring itself out. It was all so native to them. So in kind of the marketing space, they're called digital natives, which just means they were born knowing the ins and outs of the internet. They didn't really have to learn it. That said, they were still part of all the front lines of social media and kind of the evolution of all of that. So they really are trailblazers in the space. It's really fun kind of way of messaging to them, way of talking to them, because they're super authentic. They're they're looking for businesses that they like, and they kind of don't really care about the story that you have to tell. They kind of just want to figure out the story themselves, and they want to believe it. So kind of being super, super authentic, just being yourself is what resonates with them. And also they don't want to be sold to. So this whole storytelling side that I was talking about, you can do it all you want. They're going to pick up the pieces that they care about. They're going to not care about the other pieces, and they're going to believe it a lot less when it comes from you generally. So in everything you do, you want to optimize for them being advocates of your business. So creating a really great product that they love or that is going to resonate with them. But then from a marketing perspective, making it feel like it's someone they know and love that's talking to them, like it's one of their friends. But yeah, that just means that you have a lot of room to just play around with things. They can be forgiving. That's kind of a misconception. I think of Gen Z is that they will come for you, but they're also willing to kind of forgive and they move past quickly. So there's just a lot of room to play with them and kind of test different things, see what works, do something a little goofy, do something a little more serious. You're able to do a lot with them. So it's fun.
Yeah. And I think what you just said, right? Just even the relationship you're describing appears to be more like a friend than a client, consultant, if you will. So how has that started to morph the way Howbout thinks about marketing?
Yeah, so we try and lead with what our consumers are saying first. So it's an interesting one, especially where we are, where we started off as a very utility-focused app. So I don't know if everyone knows, but we're a social calendar app that makes it easier for you to keep up with your friends. keeping up with what they're up to, what they're doing, and also being able to make plans together and see each other in real life. So it's really bringing those things together. But our history started off as kind of a utility. First, we were kind of a planning app, and then we realized there was magic in kind of not just making plans with friends, but seeing what your friends are doing on the day to day when you're not together. And that's kind of really where we doubled down. But the underlying utility of the shared calendar really, really resonates. And so what we do a lot of is we'll do a lot of message testing. And by that, I mean, let's put out videos that look like someone made them, someone random on TikTok made them, and see if we get any initial signs of interest. For us, that's usually tagging friends in the comments. So we'll put something out there like one of our kind of this, we were testing out messaging around friendship and kind of how we had this insight that you kind of have tiers of friendships. You have like the friends that you share your location with if you're Gen Z, and you're like, well, hey, look, here's an open door to everything I do in my life, and you can stalk me at any time because I'm okay with you checking in on me. And then you have the friends that you have maybe on your close friends on Instagram, and then you have your friends on Instagram generally, and then you kind of have these wider networks. So there's all these layers of friendships. And we were like, well, you know, there's an interesting parallel between who you'd want to share your calendar with, the same as who you'd want to share your location with. So kind of this idea of like an open door into everything in my life. So we were kind of doing some message testing around there, made a TikTok account to just like see if we could get some comments on something. And we did this post that was like, it was literally a carousel. I don't know if I can curse on here, but I was going to say a really shitty carousel. And it was like real friends or real friends that share calendars. That was it, the whole post. And it got like 13 million views, like hundreds of thousands of comments of people tagging their friends. And we're like, it's great because it was just something we threw together just to see if it resonated. And if it does, it's really validating. We even do it with like smaller scale. Obviously, if we don't get 13 million views on a video, but we do have people tagging their friends in the comments or being like, ooh, that's like what we were talking about the other day. We're like, great, this messaging is something that sounds like you would have said to a friend, or it sounds like something that would show up on your feed. That's not like us being like, did you ever think of having a shared calendar so you can see what your friends are doing and make plans together? Like they kind of don't, they're like either they did or they didn't think about it before, but you telling them is really not going to make a difference to them. So you want to be able to incorporate their messaging into what you have to say or what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
So that works well for us. Yeah.
Yeah. There are so many things I want to unpack there. So first off, I think just the commenting dynamic on TikTok. So if I were to take a step back, right, like that is not something traditionally that I've seen brands think about, right? They maybe see replies on Facebook, but that's usually engaging with the brand itself. But you guys are using the signals of, do people are like, oh, this resonates with me. Like, tell me how you stumbled on that, because that's really cool.
Yeah, so it's an interesting one. We basically had this kind of started off with us wanting to figure out what feature we should develop next. So we didn't want anything on our main page because our main page was very much, at the time, it had a different strategy, and we've kind of evolved it a few times since then. But we were like, basically, can we figure out if any of these features are more interesting than the other? So we just created a new TikTok account. It used to be easier back then too, but right now it's harder to create new accounts. But we did create an account that we still use for message testing. It's like our hidden backup secret account. But we'll post on it, and we posted kind of a few videos with different features and trying to kind of see if anything resonated. And yeah, we've noticed that a huge indicator for us is, even if they don't say anything, is people tagging their friends in the comments. We know that that's like, I mean, it's basically like sending it in the group chat, but we have insight into the sentiment attached to it if there is one attached to it. So what I mean by that is we can see obviously shares of our videos, but if they were tagging their friend, it's the same thing as them sharing the video. It's just if they have something to say additionally, we can analyze that or look into that. So yeah, it started off with us trying to be a little bit cheeky of like, which feature should we build next? Is there something that works? And then through that, realizing that, even if we get 2 people tagging their friends in the comments, that's a really good indicator that that message might even work on ads. So even if TikTok isn't showing it to people anymore, we're like, okay, that's actually going to work. Let's try it on an ad now. So it's like a free way to test it before you put any paid behind it, even if you don't go viral.
Yeah.
Which,
because you're actually testing out to see if there's like the phrasing itself resonates, and if that actually is like, that landed. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, cool.
Oh yeah, no, I was just going to say, we that's kind of it. Is just we've now, since we identified those signals were interesting for us and they worked for us, we've incorporated that across our business. So again, like testing, seeing what features are going to resonate, seeing what messaging resonates, seeing what messaging would work as ads. Because obviously the benefit of, like, for instance, TikTok ads too is you can double your bang for your buck if you are getting tags in the comments, right? So you're paying for X amount of eyeballs, but if 1% of everyone that sees it, that's high, but imagine it is 1%, is tagging their friends, you have double, the amount of people that are seeing it. So it's a good indicator for us.
Yeah. And it's also, to answer your question before, you can curse on this podcast, totally. Where it's very conversational, because I was going to say that's fucking awesome. Like, I haven't heard of a clever way of using message testing and even feature testing like that. So I love that. Again, I think there's so many things we're going to keep circling back to. Walk me through you and the team's emotions when you hear about the TikTok ban.
So I wonder if we're going to be different than other people you speak to, but I was pretty certain that nothing was going to happen.
No, good. Yeah.
I think it was just my positive outlook. And I was like, I think they're going to find a way to make it work. But one thing that also kind of eased our minds was, I want to say maybe early summer last year or midsummer. We also had all of our TikTok account blocked for some reason, which also blocked all of our ads. So halfway through the summer, which is our best performing time, our most resonant time, and when people are most socially active, 100% of our TikTok just went down. And we obviously have contacts at TikTok that we work with for our paid ads and stuff. And we're like messaging them and they're like, we don't know what's going on. We're trying to get it unblocked. And so it was this whole thing where we're like, okay, there is a chance where we lose everything on TikTok. Like, what does that mean for us? Where do we go next? And we kind of game planned a bunch there, and we're able to find other places where we could kind of bring some of these things to life. The benefits, though, of TikTok and why we love it so much is A, our audience is massive on there. And B, you kind of have that free for all posting. It's like you post to the world on TikTok and anyone can see it at any time. It's not like kind of olden Instagram days, even, where you would have to put hashtags to find your niche and try and get in front of the right audiences. Like, TikTok's got it down where it's just like, I don't know, let's show it to 100 people, see what they think. And then if they are kind of liking it, let's show it to 100 more, and then 1,000. And then it kind of goes up from there. So I think that eased us too. But we were just so convinced nothing was going to happen. We're like, it's going to be fine. We will be fine.
I love that. I mean, I also love that you had this story like 6 months ago that you're already kind of like, well, that was actually where we were most scared. This is like,
because that was without warning. This one, at least we were like, all right, what do we really need to dive into? Like, what can we preempt other brands are going to be doing? Like, what makes the most sense for us? Can we make a story out of it, a campaign out of it, stuff like that? So we had all these thoughts, but in the summer it was without warning, and we were like, oh no.
that is really that's really clever. But I am glad it worked out for you guys.
Yeah, me too.
Going back a little to authenticity, right? Do you have an example of when Howbout tried to be inauthentic or sort of deviated from that and it just backfired? Or like, do you have concrete examples you can share there?
Yeah. So I think the most interesting one is kind of on our organic socials. So our TikTok page, generally, we've gone through so many different strategies on there. One, because the product was evolving a lot and is evolving a lot and continues to evolve. But two, because we just had all these different ideas of how to bring it to life. we're very lucky that we have an awesome marketing team, and we also have a full-time content creator in-house, Danny Babe 69 on her personal account, but she has been working with us now for almost 3 years, and she's awesome. And so we have this amazing creator, and we hired her because she is quite magical in idea creation and bringing things to life. But as we were trying to figure out what Howbout's brand is on TikTok, we tested a bunch of ways into that, whether it's like, she's trying to be our target user, which at the time was, so let me take a step back. At the time, we had kind of discovered that we found this niche in a user persona called Savannah. We gave her that name, and she was this super organized girl who had her life together, and her friends aren't as organized as her. So she wanted a way to manage her friends' lives and be able to see into her friends' lives so she can better organize her time and her friends' time, and they can spend more time together. So it was kind of this whole story arc for this user persona that we had identified. And we were like, how do we bring this specific user persona to life on TikTok? This specific user persona is not Danny. So we were coming up with these amazing ideas, kind of how we could bring it to life, through our creative, how we could be doing all these different things to kind of, bring to life this Savannah. But a lot of people could see through it because that wasn't Danny or our team's like authentic selves. Whereas when we pivoted to Danny just being Danny and telling more story about our team and how we are in the office and that we're just fun people building a fun app for you, that resonated a lot more. And it's working really well from our organic standpoint. Our general brand building is just like, hey, this is actually who we are. And we're a team that's working to build something really cool. And we hope you like us, which means hopefully you're going to talk about our app more. And that's really haloed down to be more productive than us trying to. I think it probably came from like my background in advertising, where you're like kind of really getting into the nitty gritty at that time, and you needed to figure out all these user personas and how it would come to life in a 30-second TV ad, and how do you extend then the TV ad into socials. That's just not how it works, and especially not for Gen Z. So that's where we've kind of found the magic, is just being who we are and still being creative in the ways that we talk about our app or who we are, but just being authentic. Definitely rose to the top.
Yeah. And I think it's really cool for you to share that, like, you didn't come into it understanding fully how it was going to work, right? You also had to go through this self-discovery and journey as well. So is part of the authenticity for Gen Z the founders as well and the team? Is that something that you've seen resonate, where they're like, listen, if I don't like the people, I'm not liking the product?
Yeah, for sure. I think I will say there's also the side of, obviously we determine what goes on our channels, right? I'm sure if we had a ton of bad press and people didn't like our founders, I 1000% could see Gen Z leaving as quickly as they joined. So that's something to keep in mind, but it's definitely like, we like our team. We wouldn't be working here if we didn't. So it's bringing the pieces of our team that we like to the forefront and letting that shine through in the authenticity. But I would say 1000% from what we've seen of Gen Z, they will leave your app as quickly as they join. So, but my advice would be to have a strong product that brings on networks versus just, single player experiences as well. That'll protect you a bit.
Yeah. So I was going to say, so how do you build that moat with Gen Z then?
Yeah. So definitely, one of the things that we focus on is, if you want a shared calendar for you and your husband, we might not be the best app for you. But if you want a fun experience that actually shows you what your friends are doing and lets you keep up with them and lets you chat on every event, like kind of if you want the social side of it, i.e. you're going to bring your friends on, then Howbout's the app for you. We're going to be the best for that. This kind of took us down a path of realizing that our users were less they were loving the product less if they only had one friend. So we really take you through journeys within the app to try and prompt you to add on your closest friends and not just your best friend or your partner or your couple, because there are other shared calendar apps that are built for that. They incorporate your, menstrual cycle and all that stuff. And then you can use that with your couple. It's not, we're comfortable turning away people that aren't using our app in the way that we want them to.
Yeah, really. I mean, that's awesome. I think that's very rare, but I think the best companies figure that out, right? That you kind of have to own one market thoroughly and then you can expand. So it's cool that you guys are going through that journey too. Again, I keep wanting to circle back to so many things you've said. So TikTok versus just like Instagram Reels, right? Like why does Instagram and Instagram Reels just not work as well for you guys?
Well, it starts with we go where our audience is, and they're just not on Reels as much. I think the second thing is Instagram was built for a different purpose. It's also gone through many iterations, of course, but it became a creator first platform. So the audience that you get, basically building an audience on Instagram, though they're obviously trying to work on that now to try and compete with TikTok a bit more, but audience building didn't work as well on Instagram because it just wasn't built for that. So it goes to your audience first. And if it resonates with that audience, it pushes it out further. Whereas TikTok will go to an audience first and then push it out from there, which means you have more opportunities to get in front of the right. If you're trying to evolve what you are, which we are constantly doing as a startup, it makes it a lot harder to do on Instagram. Just because, for instance, not the majority, but at the time, like if I think back to when I started 4 years ago at Howbout, a year ago, even if we were trying to reach people beyond those really, really early users that followed us when, we were 3 iterations of product ago, and they weren't resonating with the creative, it wouldn't get pushed out further. So we weren't even having a chance to be shown to people that could be interested. And that was a realization that we tried and tried again to see if there was other ways around it, but it's just not built the same way as TikTok. So we don't get as much juice out of it.
Yeah. Wait, that's really that's a phenomenal insight. And that especially for startups who are constantly pivoting and evolving, TikTok would seem to be a better channel unless you're really certain that the first audience you've got is going to resonate the whole way. That's really cool. I hope people listening to really pick that up. That's the first time I've heard even just the distribution algorithm frame that way. Claudia, you and I should just speak more. This is really cool. So going back to a bit of the authenticity, then how does AI work, and especially AI user generated content? How does that land with Gen Z?
That's still a big question mark for me. We haven't explored that so much. I will say what's if I were to maybe give a bit of a hot take or my expectation is if I were to jump forwards and guess how Gen Z is going to interpret it, I think they're going to see AI generated content as ironic. I can totally see us bringing it to life in a way that's obviously AI generated or ironic, because at least they're in on the joke, they get it. But we haven't ventured into that much so far.
Yeah. I mean, the theme that I'm getting is just leaning into stuff versus shying away from it. And again, maybe this goes back to the authenticity, but I also think there's a flip side to Gen Z seems to be more willing to receive that authenticity. If I look at previous generations, there was felt like a mold that you had to conform to. And if you broke from that, I think I'm just commenting on how much I really like Gen Z, and maybe I should have been Gen Z in my life.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting too, because again, if I think back to my big client days in advertising, and the thing to talk about back then was Wendy's on Twitter, and it was Wendy's is calling out Burger King, and they're having this fight, and it was the first kind of iteration of a brand having trying to have a voice or trying to be an entity that isn't just their product. And if you think back to when that was kind of when Gen Z was growing up or like trying to listen more. So
Mm.
they were like, well, okay, so brands can be themselves, but they're choosing not to. They're choosing to like be
Conform
something
or
different.
yeah,
So like,
yeah,
what are you trying to hide? They're just skeptical by nature. So it's like, well, if you're just talking about your product, like what are you hiding? Like,
yeah,
do you work in a Sheen factory? What's going on? Like, I think they're just a bit more, they grew up in a world where they're like, well, you can be yourself. So why aren't you?
yeah.
Why are you trying to be someone else?
And to your point, it's there's probably they had so much access and visibility that like you could then double click quicker than you could in any other generation to be able to see
Yeah.
through that. Whew, a
Yeah.
lot. Um, so one of the things that we talked about before you came on was this idea that Gen Z is ad blind. What a soundbite. What does that mean?
So it's kind of what I was saying before, where they don't want to be sold to. And I
Okay.
can even speak about my own behaviors. Like, I can tell when an ad is on my TikTok feed within zero point 0.5 seconds of it showing up. Like, you
Mm,
just know on the majority of content. Like, you're scrolling, something shows up and you're like, this wouldn't normally be on my feed. And then you're
mm,
like, all right, it's an ad. So you just swipe. If I feel that way, Gen Z feels like that times a million. And it's
mm,
in like zero point 0.1 second. They're like, that wouldn't be on my feed. And they're just going to swipe. So it's not the type of thing, again, like old advertising would be like, make sure you have your logo. Cause even if you have it, then for 1 second, they're going to see your logo and they're going to have an impression and they're going to, feel familiar about your brand. I would almost say the opposite. Like some of our best performing ads have been super raw, super strange. Like you're almost waiting because you're like, why, how is this an ad? Like, what is this an ad for? Um, but then they convert really well. They're like, oh, actually that's something that I could see using
mm,
using with my friends. So if you make it feel like something that should be on their page and would be on their page, they're gonna pay attention to it more than if it looks like an ad or feels like an ad or even like, I know I've said this a few times, like if it's like try hard, like
mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of an example we were talking about, I want to say yesterday in the marketing team. It's like this ad that keeps showing up. What was it? If I remember it, I'll bring it back up later. But it was the fact that we were all getting the same ad on our TikTok and it was so clearly trying to be like a good ad,
Yeah.
which I get is a hard thing to do. But I would say I would say biggest advice is just use what other people are saying about you to
Yeah.
sell your ad.
Yeah.
Like app or product generally. Like if you're trying to think of the right way to message it and you're thinking for a really long time, you probably missed the point. You should probably just throw things together, put it out there, and then learn from those. And
Yeah.
even if it is raw, like make a carousel and throw in some copy and put a small amount of budget towards it and see if it gets any traction. And then go from there. Because if you're going to go through big budget and big campaigns, unless it's a well thought out like overarching strategy and you have press involved and you know it's going to get a bunch of eyeballs, like it's almost not worth it. So
Mm-hmm.
for us, like we're still a startup, we don't have big budgets. Like for me to think of something, big production, it's just not going to be worth it because they're going to see through it unless we're in on the joke, and then you kind of have to build the joke with them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this is actually a very funny, I'm not going to call it a segue. I don't know what it is, but like, just given the timing, if you had the budget, would you advertise at the Super Bowl?
I kind of knew you were going to ask this question. Like I felt it coming because I was going to say Duolingo is a great example of that,
Yeah.
where they built their personality online. They stuck with it. They kept it. They had Super Bowl ads last year and the year before, whenever it was. And the first year they tried to be in on the joke, and they built something that was like, oh my God, Duolingo. I don't remember even what the ad was, which is probably bad, but I know that they were there,
Yeah.
and they were doing something where it was like, if you know us, you're in on the joke, and that worked really well. And then I remember them trying to do it again. I think it was like, I think they did an ad that was like, it was something to do with like a Love Island, and they were putting together like a Love Island where no one spoke the same languages or something like that. And I remember the comments, Terry at the time was like, they're trying too hard now, so it's it's a tough line. I would say if I were to approach the Super Bowl now, we had budgets, we were going to go for it. I would like try and before the Super Bowl do a whole, like I would have a whole pre-campaign setup where we're kind of teeing up something really ridiculous for our followers, so that if once people are talking about it on the screen, the ones who know, like it's an if you know you know scenario, something like that. Like I would make sure that it's not just, 30 seconds during the Super Bowl isn't going to get us what we want. But if everyone is then like, oh, I knew they were going to do that, or I saw they were going to do this, or, oh my God, that's so funny because they did XYZ, or, oh, that other thing makes sense. Like all of those conversations where then you have them between people, are going to benefit someone like us more.
Well, that's really cool. So like, you're thinking more like, hey, actually like advertise to our audience or maybe our own customers, and not let's try to bring in net new, let's try to bring in, expand the pie.
I would say it would definitely go to new audiences, but it wouldn't be because of the TV ad. It would be because Claudia, I'm the Howbout user, and I saw that in it. I got it.
Yeah.
I would tell my friends like, oh, they did this. Oh no, like actually I knew because it was real. Like they did that because it was really funny that they did XYZ. So suddenly then it's coming from your friends and not from, the TV spot.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But on like, are there brands that you're seeing that you like are just like, I really like love what they're doing? Do you have examples of people that you admire?
Yeah. There's a bunch of different examples and people that we look to for a variety of different reasons. Like, Duolingo is an obvious example of just like, they were able to bring to life, basically they were able to build a caricature of a brand kind of first, which meant that they're able to, or like Ryanair is another great example where, they were going on social media and like, they were like, well, we're cheap airlines. Like, why should we even pretend that we're not a cheap airline? So if someone's like, oh, I purchased a window seat, and they're sat with like the wall and there's no window, and they tweet that, Ryanair answers and they're like, well, you purchased on Ryanair. If you wanted a window seat, go with British Airways. Like things like that, where they can just be like authentic. It's those types of brands that we always feel like we have a lot to learn from. Yeah. I think also, marketing is not just external, but there's also the whole in-app experience that is part of your relationship with the user. And I think there's other kind of apps that we look to in terms of like a great user experience that's going to kind of keep you around. I'm trying to think of like what was maybe a more recent one that we looked into, but yeah, again, maybe a cop-out example is Spotify. It's a great user experience. They have a lot of opportunities for you to bring your friends into the experience with you. Obviously, they have Wrapped at the end of the year, which is shareable, and it all feels like it should come from them. They're like the cool streaming service. So things like that we look to learn from as well.
Yeah. You mentioned something that I thought was interesting around the in-app experience. Like, do you, as the VP of marketing, do you get to own the copy in the app? Like, how do you influence and continue that journey in the app too?
Yeah. So a huge part of my role is also kind of the product itself, and how we can use the insights that we gain about our market or what people are doing in conjunction with the in-app data that we're getting. So how people are actually using the app to kind of bridge some of that story. So if they're, they're coming in for a shared calendar, but they're really, really loving the feed feature, which is, in our app, then kind of what is the messaging differences that we want to be testing there? Or the other way around is, as I said, we test product with our audience or other audiences all the time. And so kind of how can we determine the holes in the market to make our product more relevant or more interesting? And yeah, we're doing that all the time. It's a huge amount of my time is in product, especially right now. So
yeah. Well, props
but
to
yeah,
you.
And then copy is an extension to that as well, of course.
Right. Right. Well, I mean, good on you on the team, because I think that's often such a disconnect is product and marketing. But there seems to be like a better symbiotic relationship than most places I've heard, and I love the way that you're also using marketing to help product, and then vice versa. Okay, let's pivot to another hot take that you have. Influencer marketing is overrated, I think is what you said.
Okay. Yes.
I know I think there's a caveat that I am not mentioning though.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I would stand by that, but I would say I think some brands have been able to do it really well, where they craft like a really authentic relationship with a large scale influencer. So I think I'm a little biased too, because we've been able to get pages, like for instance, our test TikTok account got us many, 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 many more views than any influencer we've tried to work with, no matter what their size is. And the views led to more conversions than any influencer that we've worked with ever. So skeptical from Howbout's perspective, it doesn't seem to work. But what I will say is crafting a true relationship with a large scale influencer, I think resonates with Gen Z. So like, what's a good example recently? Like co-product creation or something like that, where it's like, I can't think of an example, but the first thing that came to me was like Emma Chamberlain's coffee. It's her own brand, so it's not quite the same thing. That comes across as super authentic because she helped to craft and create it. Or Corporate Natalie is this TikToker, and she just worked with a clothing brand for a workwear line. That feels super authentic. And I'm sure then kind of having her be part of that process, it feels authentic to her. It feels authentic to them. I think that would really sell. It's when you're kind of like, hey, Alex Earl, make a video about XYZ, that it's where the ad blindness just kicks in and people stop paying attention.
So, I mean, it all circles back to this authenticity, right? Because it feels like the version that you're talking about that people don't want feels very transactional. It's like, hey, clearly you just paid this person to say this. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And
so that was my hot take.
Yeah. And you've got another one that I love, which is competitors are not who you think they are.
Yes.
Yeah, let's go into that.
So what I mean by this is it's also kind of what I was saying before. So Howbout's competitor isn't another shared calendar, but it's kind of the space you want to occupy in your users' minds. So for us, a lot of the time, what we refer back to as like what we're competing against is a conversation that could be happening in the group chat. We obviously have a group chat feature, but it's not built to be a group chat. And we know they're going to have group chat conversations elsewhere. But if we're an app that tells you or like helps you keep up with what your friends are doing, the alternate to that, or what Gen Z are doing right now, is they're going to the group chat to update their friends. So how do we steal that mental space a little bit? And we dip into that where they're coming to Howbout to see the updates or to have that conversation. So it's not like, oh, it's a direct, or for instance, we have a feed on our app where you can see your friends' activities on their calendar, what things they've been adding to their, what plans they've been up to lately. That feed is definitely not competing with TikTok's feed, but it is competing for the mental space of, I should maybe FaceTime Gemma. What's Gemma up to? Like, I want to know. Maybe I'll go to, Howbout to check what she's been up to first and like start that conversation there. So it's trying to find like the mental space that you're trying to tap into versus other people that can do and do what you do.
Yeah. And does it get really, no, that makes a ton of sense. But does it get challenging knowing that you've got, you just listed 3 features of your app, all of which arguably have 3 different mental model competitors. How do you think through that from a marketing angle?
So it all ladders up to the kind of overarching one, which is we want to be the best way for you to keep up with your friends. And so there's a lot of angles to that. Like again, verbatims of what users have said to us or Gen Z generally have said to us is like, I don't like Instagram anymore because I go on there and I don't see my friends' content anymore. I see like people I followed ages ago or ads or stuff like that. So is Instagram really a way to keep up with your friends anymore? Not really. So that's an insight that we could take a message from and test that for us is like, you're scrolling through Instagram, you're not seeing your friends' updates. What if this is an app where you see 100% of your friends' updates because it's what they do with their time? Or the alternative is like, we talk about like one of the kind of messages that we've tested before too is like, you kind of go to Howbout to come up with the list of topics you want to gossip about when you go to drinks with your girlfriends. Like, I want to know what dates you were on recently. I want to know what you were up to. So it's kind of like, how do our features ladder up to the same message, which is like stronger connections with your friends that you can't keep up with just as easily.
Yeah. Okay. No, great answer. We're heading towards time. So, I'd maybe love to turn it over to you and just tell me a little bit more about what Howbout's thinking about for 2025, any new cool features you can share. Yeah. Anything on that?
I'm really excited about the next steps of Howbout. We're working on a ton, though I don't know what I will or won't dive into, especially because we move really fast and I don't know when this podcast will come out.
True.
But I will say that we're really diving into product now. There's so many things that we're doing to make it easier or make it better for friendships and like really kind of expanding on the networks that we have on Howbout and making them richer, making the experiences more fun. These are all little Easter eggs, but I'm really excited about what's to come. And yeah, I think what we're really double clicking on is what I've been talking about, which is making it the better way to keep up with your friends in a world where your friends are busy and social media isn't cutting it for that sentiment anymore. It's not for your friends anymore. So we're hoping we can sneak right in there.
Yeah. Fair enough. I know there's probably a lot of work going on behind the scenes. But yeah, this is honestly one of my favorite conversations because it's a space that I just don't know that well and hear a lot about. So I've had a lot of fun. I think, again, we can talk through so much, like all of Gen Z, how they think through stuff, how you guys use testing, just the influencer marketing stuff, authenticity. Again, so many great little pieces of this. But I just wanted to thank you a lot for coming on. I know, like you said, you're busy, you're in a startup, so there's a lot of work. So I just appreciate you taking the time to come on here and chat.
Yeah, of course. It was really fun. Yeah. Our conversations are always great. So.
Yes. Well, thank you again, Claudia, and best of luck with everything Howbout's building. And I can't wait to, whenever the next time we chat, I'm sure you guys will be massive unicorns. So can't wait to hear about that journey too. All right. Thanks, Claudia.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for tuning into Experimental. If today's insights sparked new ideas or made you feel like a smarter marketer, consider leaving a review on your preferred podcast platform. It really helps support the show. For more in-depth discussions and resources, visit experimental.beehive.com. Until next time, be curious and stay experimental.